Today we're taking a look at these college football matches, which are happening on Monday, January 9, 2023, and giving you our team and total picks for today. Welcome back to High Stakes. Before we dive into our video, don't forget to subscribe and push that notification bell to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos, and make sure to watch it till the end so you don't miss any of our picks. Also check out our Patreon if you want access our premium picks. Our Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. You will find the link in description and comment section below. One more thing before we start, check out our new channel High Stakes Props and Parlays, where you can find our player props and parlay picks predictions. You will find the link in the description and comment section below. For our first parlay pick is Georgia vs TCU. The long, winding and exciting college football season will come to an end on Monday night as the number 1 and defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs will take on the number 3 TCU Horned Frogs. Georgia has been the standard bearer of college football for each of the last 2 seasons and comes into this matchup at 14-0 on the season after a thrilling 42-41 win over Ohio State in the CFP semifinal at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Meanwhile, the upstart Horned Frogs get to this title game courtesy of a 51-45 win over number 2 Michigan in the CFP semifinal at the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. The opening kick for the College Football Playoff National Championship game is scheduled for 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from Sophie Stadium. Sonny Dykes, coming over from SMU, has done a fantastic job with a team that was not even considered in the top 25 before the year began. But they had a quarterback in Max Duggan, who had proven himself as a very solid dual-threat quarterback in 3 previous years. Duggan struggled against a very good Wolverines defense, completing just 14 of 29 for 225 yards with 2 TDs and 2 ints. But he ran for 57 yards and 2 TDs, while RB Amari Demercado rushed for 150 yards and a score. They rushed for 263 yards against one of the best run defenses in the nation. Georgia trailed number 4 Ohio State 38-24 to start the 4th quarter, but they outscored the Buckeyes 18-3 to return to the championship game. Stetson Bennett hit Adonai Mitchell with 54 seconds left to help the Bulldogs get a near miraculous win right around midnight of the new year. Bennett completed 23 of 34 for 398 yards with 3 TDs and a pick. Kenny McIntosh led the Dogs with 70 yards rushing, while Dajan Edwards added 56. W.R. Arian Smith was the playmaker with 3 catches for 129 yards and a TD. I saw lines as high as 13.5 before, but it won't matter. TCU is not there to compete. They are here to win because who knows when they'll get that opportunity again. Georgia, as long as they have Kirby Smart, will always be in the mix somewhere. They certainly have more talent except at the quarterback position, and that's the difference here. Duggan can get things going, whether it's on the ground or in the air. TCU can also be very opportunistic defensively, as they are 20th in turnover margin with 22 forced turnovers, including 16 interceptions. Georgia's defense has looked fallible in recent weeks, giving up 28 points per game. They also will have to deal with a bruising quarterback in Duggan that can make plays with both his arm and his legs. Certainly, Bennett will make his share of plays and will absolutely keep the Bulldogs in this game. I think the 2 areas should concern the Bulldogs: turnovers and the potential loss of Washington. The Bulldogs cough the ball up far more frequently than TCU does, and in this up-tempo game, turnovers could be the difference. Washington's potential absence could take away the one major advantage Georgia has in this game: the Bulldogs' ground game versus the TCU rushing defense. Without the massive Washington, the Bulldogs will not be able to dominate the line of scrimmage without adding an extra offensive lineman. His absence could impact Bauer's ability to work strictly as a pass catcher. Ultimately, this game will be tight and should be high scoring. TCU has refused to cave all season, and I can't imagine this would be the time. Can they win this game? Our team pick is TCU plus 12.5 points. They absolutely could, but I won't commit to that. I will commit to the fact that they will absolutely cover this spread. TCU only took 1 loss this year, a 31-28 OT affair versus Kansas State on December 3rd. Outside of that, the Frogs beat Colorado, Tarleton State, SMU, Oklahoma, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, West Virginia, Texas Tech, Texas, Baylor, Iowa State and Michigan. The TCU Horned Frogs were not supposed to be here. First, they weren't supposed to be here after finishing last season at just 5-7 and firing longtime head coach Gary Patterson and replacing him with Sonny Dykes from SMU. They certainly weren't supposed to be here as Dykes juggled his quarterbacks over the first couple of games. Finally, they were certainly dead and buried after losing the Big 12 championship game to Kansas State and losing their improbably undefeated season. Instead, Dykes came in and boasted of the team's road to success. He then settled on quarterback Max Duggan, who would go on to have a season that led him to a Heisman finalist position. Finally, the Horned Frogs were chosen for the CFP even after losing to Kansas State. In the Fiesta Bowl on January 31st, the Frogs benefited from a goal line fumble in the first half and entered the break ahead 21-6. In the second half, TCU was outscored 39-30 but still hung on for the win 51-45. Max Duggan put up 225 yards with 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. Quentin Johnston had 6 catches for 163 yards and a TD. Over on the Georgia side, it's been a perfect run so far. The Bulldogs have beaten Oregon, Samford, South Carolina, Kent State, Missouri, Auburn, Vanderbilt, Florida, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Georgia Tech, LSU and Ohio State. After having not won a college football national championship in over 40 years heading into last season, the Georgia Bulldogs are on the verge of winning back-to-back titles. Unlike TCU, the Bulldogs were supposed to get here. They started the season ranked in the top 3 and have never wavered from that positioning before finally securing the number 1 spot late in the season. The Bulldogs come into this matchup undefeated and following a thrilling win over Ohio State. The Bulldogs played from behind throughout the game before an 18-3 fourth quarter led them to victory. In fact, twice the Bulldogs had to rally from 2 touchdown deficits in the game as they showed the same resiliency that they had last season after losing to Alabama in the SEC title game before rebounding to thump the Crimson Tide in the CFP championship game. In the Peach Bowl versus Ohio State on New Year's Day, the Bulldogs went into the fourth quarter down 38-24. Georgia outscored the Buckeyes 18-3 from there and won the comeback 42-41. QB Stetson Bennett put up 398 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. Arian Smith had 3 catches for 129 yards and a score. Just one more win stands between the Bulldogs and 2 straight titles. To do so, however, they will need to find their defensive dominance once again and slow down the Horned Frogs' attack. Georgia comes into this game with a 6th-ranked scoring offense this season. They have the 15th-ranked rushing attack thus far. Against TCU, they averaged 5.2 yards per carry, but only had 23 rush attempts as they fell behind early. If they can pound the ball at TCU's 70th-ranked ground defense, they can give the defense a break. The Bulldogs have the 15th-ranked passing offense in college football, and Bennett has proven his mettle over the past several weeks. They might be without Darnell Washington. The Bulldogs were the best team in the nation in the red zone on offense. Teams choose that route because Georgia has the 70th-ranked pass defense. As dominant as the Bulldogs are in the red zone on offense, they are nearly as dominant on defense as they rank number 2 in the country. Finally, and this could play a role, the Bulldogs are ranked 75th in turnover differential. While this number seems high, keep this in mind. Of the 8 CFP championship games, 6 of the 8 have gone over 60 points. In fact, the average total in that time has been 64.5 points. Georgia, despite its vaunted defense, has allowed an average of 28 points per game in the last 3 games. TCU has allowed over 30 points per game in that same time frame. TCU, save for last week, doesn't typically turn the ball over and has the 7th highest scoring offense in the country. The Bulldogs have the 6th highest scoring offense in the country, and Bennett will certainly direct his team to 30-plus points as he did in last year's title game. Duggan is tough and unrelenting. He will find the end zone early and often as well. Take under this total at your own risk, considering these 2 teams combined for 28 fourth-quarter points alone in their respective semifinals games. Our total pick is over 62.5 points.